How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
All right, I'm Quan. This is Tavish. And
Happy.
and Sherry's off the camera, but she's certainly there.
Yeah, I'm here.
So week 5.
Emotion week.
Yes. And so emotions, so we've done mentors, and then music, food, ignorance. What you know and what you don't know.
Mentors is emotional.
Yes.
Music is spiritual.
Food is mental.
Mental, and
Ignorance is physical.
So we start back over with emotional.
Yeah, because emotions would have to be emotional, right?
They could get stuck somewhere else. But,
Yeah, I mean, I guess they can't get stuck
let's,
in the mind.
Let's deal with them as emotion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when I hear emotion, I first go energy in motion. You know that what feelings are you using? Because feelings can be an internal state that you don't even act on. That we don't know, we may not know we can suspect what you're feeling through facial expression or through tone or whatever. But I see feelings as an internal, inside thing.
And we see people express their feelings.
Yes, and then when they express them, then they seem more like emotion. I don't know. That's it, and I know
if you have psychic abilities and you are the person is saying something, how do you handle it when you really know from your ability that it's not true or it's false, or do you do any? Where does the psychic fit in this?
So that brings up whether people are aware of their feelings.
Yes.
Okay.
People hide feelings from themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're talking about a psychic individual, first of all, let's break that down. That we all have these capacities and abilities. It's like if you go work out at a gym or on your rowing machine or whatever, you're going to get a better physical body. So it's the same with, I think, psychic feelings, that the more that you pay attention to them, whereas the psychic barometer jumps up on behind us, the more aware, the stronger the connection.
Well, and I'll say the connection's exactly
The same?
Everybody has the exact same connection. It's the awareness and paying attention to things around you. I mean, as soon as you start paying attention to little details, you start picking up psychic things. And everybody's had that experience where just, the phone rings and you know who it is or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's there.
Yeah, and even quantum physics is starting to talk about how the emotional imprinting between people and even animals, that's how they know you're coming home. Because the physician, the quantum physics shows the connection if we need the scientific explanation in that way. But in terms of what does the psychic do if you don't or are suspicious about someone's feelings or whether they're being honest?
Everybody doesn't express their feelings. It's not expressible. So what happens how do you handle that when, say, you're in a group and you don't express your feelings? So how does that make the group awkward? What happens?
Well, first of all, I would want to know what's within the person for why they would not feel comfortable to express it.
Okay.
Is it appropriate to express the feeling at the time?
Okay.
And I think that's part of the larger question of awareness and being aware of your environment. I know that if I'm in a session with someone, they are there so we hopefully can get a larger, more expanded understanding of their feelings, when and how to express them, which ones to put into motion, and which ones that maybe are not always meant to be shared. So I know that I live in a space where when I'm working with people, I want people to express all that comes to them in a session. I think the more aware and the more that we connect and allow ourselves to share without the filter, but with a mature, if we do the ignorance piece the week before correctly, that we're not going to judge what you don't know. By not judging what another person doesn't know, and hopefully being empathic to some point, then you won't run roughshod, or you won't, or the probability of you doing that is lessened.
And I was even point out that removing the blocks and the shame around ignorance
And the biases.
Whatever else you want to attach to it, is all, it all allows for freedom of emotion. So if we're busy feeling bad about something that we got shamed for because of our ignorance, then we're not that likely to express our feeling anymore.
Yes.
So, people get shut down at different points in their lives and maybe don't even recognize feelings in themselves, in their own bodies. So it's really, taking feelings and seeing which ones you are comfortable with and what kind of feelings you aren't comfortable with. And if you are going to express feelings, who would you express them to? Mm-hmm. Would you express positive feelings with someone but not negative, or vice versa? Where do you lean?
And that's where and that's where I like the point that you were talking about before we started to record, is that we get really comfortable in the binary of happy or angry. That we can say that, but we don't go underneath and say, well, jealousy, even jealousy differs from envy, because jealousy means that there's a third party or some competition, where envy could be just an inner state of between you and someone else that another person is not interested even about. And then I talk to people a lot about the difference between worry and then anxiety. Well, worry is about what probably has already occurred in the past. I worry about it repeating, where anxiety is more of a future piece. Although but again, with feelings, it's really important not to get so linear, rash, and just know what they feel like.
Try them on, see what they feel like. See if you're comfortable with the feeling. The exercise actually has a whole list of them to kind of go through and say, okay, what does this feeling mean to me? And am I comfortable with it? And is it different in my brain than in my body? And who would I share it with? So it just, rounds out your own feelings so that you can see them and recognize them in others. And back to what you were saying, Sherry, I don't think you have to be psychic or anything like that to pick up an idea about somebody else that's different from the idea that they're projecting. Mm-hmm. And, you may have a feeling that they're lying and you know what they're about, and they may have a feeling that's completely different. And I think that's where we get into feelings are subjective.
Yes.
And so if we can figure out a way to express our own honestly without, just all of this is designed to remove these pieces that keep us from truly expressing ourselves.
Yes. And that's interesting when you brought up, and with whom would I share it with? Because I know I'm in a enviable position in the sense that I work with people coming to me to let's talk about our spiritual aspirations, our feelings, and it's 75% or so women, because most men don't make friends, don't share intimate feelings with, say, other men if they haven't met them before college or high school or whatever. So then it becomes, and this is all heteronormative, but it's also in the gay community, it can still be a challenge around friendship versus friends with benefits versus what have you. And I just think we lose out based on the socialization of men most often that we don't share. And then it's too much of a burden, potential burden on the women in our lives, whether it's wife, spouse, sister, mother. You know, it can be.
Yeah, can
Can
be.
be.
But I think everybody kind of arrives at their own
At their own
space
pace.
because of
No.
their own material. I know plenty of women who won't
I-
share a feeling. I know women who don't trust other women.
Yes.
You
And
know,
men, do-
right?
yeah. So it's all, yeah.
I mean, everybody's feelings come from their own experience.
Mhm.
Their, and then that experience is their perception. So it's.
And that's why I like the fact
feelings are tangled.
that the first week emotion with mentors, and then this fifth week going into more the interpersonal, because even though feelings are subjective, when you share love, you get more love. When you share hate, everything, you lessen everything, or it minuses or something. I know I'm not getting this right, but the point that I want to make is that the feelings, even though they're subjective, their power is in a major power of feelings. It comes through sharing them.
So when you're bringing love, you're
Yeah,
expanding something.
yeah, exactly.
And when you're bringing hate, you're creating shame, and
All of that.
you're shutting it down.
And that's what a mentor, where the mentor connection is, we often model what we were shown in talking about it through our mentors and through early childhood. What I loved about your point was, if once we lose the shame, the guilt, by whatever that is, then we can feel whatever we feel. And in best case scenarios, have at the minimal tolerance. I think the minimal is that you tolerate it, and then acceptance, and then coexistence, and go, oh no, that's just how, that's just how she does.
So mentors,
Yeah.
really you start just by making this list without attaching emotion to it, because just the name is going to hit something emotionally. But you go through your spiritual piece, you go through your mental piece, you go through your physical piece, and now you're ready to deal with the emotions from your early creativity, your mentors, what you lacked, and what you don't know. So those are that all touches on some things that bring up emotion, and now hopefully you're in a position to handle a little more emotion.
Yes. And express it in a way that it may cause some discomfort, but it's temporary discomfort, or even if you're still looping on the same feeling, the discomfort lessens as you have more awareness.
As you work with it.
As you work
Absolutely.
with it, But the trick is, or a trick is the willingness to pause enough to say, well, what is this feeling? Because I know joy cannot exist, or rarely can joy exist without gratitude. I mean, how are you going to be really, at least that's how I see that. I have to be grateful for, I have breath, I have mind, I have spirit, I have friend. What I have and what I'm grateful for is what my joy is centered in. I mean, that's a feeling that, which is different from happiness. Because joy to me, I can experience joy just by.
Yeah, and I would say joy almost like it's an inside out thing.
Yeah, into out, yeah.
It springs.
Yeah,
Joy
yeah, I like
springs.
that, yes,
like
yes.
It's like sunlight. Happy can come from somewhere else.
Yes, happy. Yeah, I can look at someone doing something and be happy. And then my favorite, one of my favorite niyamas, which is one of the principles of yoga, is santosha. It's a Sanskrit word that means contentment. And contentment is sort of like the fat Buddha belly. It's just, it's a kissing cousin of joy, but it's not it's not a sunlight or a sun. How did you describe it?
Content is wholeness.
Oh, you see content as wholeness. Okay.
I mean, that's
Okay.
being able to accept everything. That's our last week, but
Yeah.
being able to accept everything as part of you, and being okay with all of it. So your emotions, your experiences, your
Okay.
mentors.
I like that.
So what this just shows is the conversation around emotions can be just a cool conversation in and of itself. What does joy mean to you?
Yes. And what I also like about just that question, what does joy mean to you, is since we are going to come up eventually on back to social engagements and parties and what have you, I feel one of the benefits of the being on lockdown has been we've had to find small internal joyous thing. We've had to look inside. So the next time you're out, instead of asking someone what do they do for a living, maybe say, what was the last joyous experience you had? You know, just shifting the timbre or the tone of the conversation through leading more with discussing feelings and emotion. And you will know it. If you trust in your heart, people will know that you're not asking to be a nosy Gladys neighbor from Bewitched. Gladys Kravitz, I don't know how she popped in.
Even if you get interpreted in a weird way, it's okay. That'll produce its own feelings.
Yes.
And give you some material to work with.
Oh, sure, because it's all about the material. You know that statement that comedy is just tragedy plus time. So, so it's, our feelings are, they're holy in certain ways.
I like that.
They're holy.
I like that.
Yeah.
Holy as in
Holy.
Holy?
Or if you want to do a pun, put a W, holy. But yeah, but definitely holy.
Both.
Yeah, because
Holy and
holy. Yeah, because I don't think you can get to wholeness. You don't think you can get to wholeness, right? And then when you talk about there being subjective, but it's subjective leading to shared awareness. You know, where we can hopefully, not always.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But when you said holy, which one did you mean?
I meant HOLY.
Mm-hmm.
I was, and that's one of the reasons why we need holy days, like holidays, because they center on feelings.
But there's another feeling, because you need holy days. I probably need holy days.
Other people.
But I guarantee you there are people out there that don't.
Yes,
To get here.
and it's important to give room for that. That my trek up the proverbial mountain may not be your trek up the proverbial mountain. You may not like mountains.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
If we all identify our own path, because it's completely different than anybody else's, and it's unique to us, those feelings
Mm-hmm.
should be celebrated.
Yeah.
Wow.
How you feeling?
I feel complete.
How you feel?
How you feeling? Pretty
Next
good.
week.
Next week.